The stock market is on fire right now. Record highs, wild moves in crypto, and massive earnings from Tesla and Alphabet is on deck. But here's a twist. This week could flip the entire market upside down. If you're not ready for what's coming, tariffs, Fed moves, and AI earning bombs, you could miss some of the best plays for the summer. Stick around until the end because I'm dropping exact supports and resistance zones and trade setups you guys don't want to miss. And let's all make some money this week, man. Comment down below any plays that you guys have in mind, and let's get started. Before we get into anything else, man, Ryanair did indeed report their earnings report, and they got a gap upwards because of this. I'm watching that $60 level. After that, look at that 61.5. 63 and that $65 level to the upside if we continue to the upside. But Ryanair has an impressive turnaround. So their net income more than doubled to 820 million euros in Q1, surpassing estimates of 687.6 million. Revenue increased by 20% to 4.34 billion, and the airline is aiming to recover most of last year's fare drop for reasonable growth in fiscal year 26. But that being said, we got some great numbers with Ryanair overall, and you can watch this stock to the upside, maybe a continuation. So I don't waste too much of you guys' time. And here is the overview of what to expect for today and the rest of the week in the stock market. Then we'll get more in detail with this and give you guys more supports and resistances and plays at the end of the video. So overall, man, what to look for this week. I'm going to be going in more in depth with news, but I kind of just want to summarize it so that, if you guys don't have that much time, you guys can just leave the video right after the summary. But what's on deck for this week? It's a big one. First, the tariff drama continues. Keep an eye on any updates about trade talks with the EU, Mexico, and China. Those headlines could move the markets. If negotiations soften, we might see a relief rally, but higher tariffs could spark volatility. Second, earnings season is heating up. Big names like Alphabet, Tesla, Intel, IBM, Coca-Cola, GM, and Verizon are reporting. Investors will be laser focused on their guidance for the second half of 2025, especially how they're navigating the tariff impacts in AI spending. So far, Q2 earnings have been beating expectations by 8%, with the S&P 500 growth revised up 10%. That's a good sign, but any weak forecast could shake things up. Third, key economic data drops this week. Watch for the Richmond Fed Index on Tuesday, existing home sales on Wednesday, and the jobless claims, service PMI, manufacturing PMI, and new home sales on Thursday. Durable good orders wrap things up on Friday. These numbers will give us clues about consumer strength and whether the Fed might lean towards a rate cut in September. Right now, odds are around 60%. Finally, Fed Chair Jerome does come out this week as well. We'll drop hints about the Fed's rate path. People are watching that, so I do recommend watching that as well. Be updated, man. You can make some plays when he speaks. With tariff-driven inflation, risk in the spotlight, markets are on edge for any signals overall. So that's kind of like a little overview summary if you guys are here quickly. But for the more in-depth, man, the numbers that I'm mainly looking for is that initial jobless claims and the PMI that can definitely move markets. The PMI is going to be 15 minutes after market opens, and initial jobless claims is going to be 30 minutes before, or an hour before market opens, I apologize, on Thursday. And that is going to be pretty decent. Maybe the economic indicators as well, 30 minutes after market opens today. So keep that in mind. And we do have Fed Jerome coming out Tuesday, an hour before market opens. So that can really move like the pre-market basically. We are still in extreme greed at 75. So I don't know, maybe people might be greedy today, and or sometimes we get in the extreme greed. We do have a big sell-off sometimes. So keep that in mind while trading. First link in the description below, I have cheap courses, and there's also a code for 50% off for all of those courses if you guys are interested. Upping your knowledge is one way to make money and become financially free. Check out those courses if you guys want. First link in the description below. Thank you. Also, just want to show you guys this chart. It's currently the 21st, so we might have a little bit of downside with history, but honestly, man, take this with a grain of salt. So we might have a downside, but that's why I say if you guys are option traders just like me, get 2 to 3 weeks out, maybe even 3 to 4 weeks out, because normally at the end, if this data is correct, we beat all-time highs towards the end of the month anyway. So if you guys are in any call options and you guys get a few weeks out, you might have a little bit of a comeback towards the end of the month. So don't get too scared. But honestly, man, if you can scope out the right plays, you can still make money. And that is what I've learned, especially if we're looking at, maybe even NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been holding up pretty strong. Even if you get, one of these dips right here, you're going to definitely make some money and just buy it at the lows. I've been personally scoping out Apple. I've been scoping out plays below that 209 level, and not really below, but like the high 209s, maybe 209.5 to that 209 level. And I've been scoping out some call options because normally we've just been bouncing in this range. I really want to see if we can get a little bit of a bounce with Apple, maybe break past this 211.5, which we kind of are already. If we can hold strong and hold above this, we might be able to test that 213.5 to that 215 level next. But honestly, I'm going to see how market opens, and maybe if we dip down even low, even below that 210, I might buy my little call option. But have news on your radar, because if we get some bad news, we might see Apple, drop even more and maybe even get down to like that 207.5 to that 205 level. So have your patience with Apple. One coin that I haven't really been talking about, but Dogecoin. Dogecoin has been going insane recently, and we've been seeing it, break some new highs recently. With that being said, Dogecoin is decent. XRP is also decent. We've been holding above that 3.5 level. I'm personally waiting to see if we can break past that 3.7. And if we can break past that 3.7, I'm going to be looking at that $4 level next for XRP. Bitcoin is moving pretty strong. We have a little bit of a rally. So if we can break above that 120, we might be able to see 121 once again to that 122 level. And some stocks to trade with Bitcoin. Of course, it's going to be IBIT. You can make some decent money off of that one, as well with MSTR and Coinbase. These two also move with Bitcoin basically. And then speaking of crypto in general, Ethereum is still moving pretty strong, ETH. And honestly, man, you can make some decent plays with this. Can we hit 4,000 this week? Maybe. Honestly, with the way it's moving, we could definitely hit that 4,000 unless we get a little pullback. But honestly, man, I'm looking at that $4,000 level. And if you do ETHA, if you guys are traders, you guys can do ETHA, which is basically a ETF that has been moving pretty strong with Ethereum. And honestly, you guys can get some call options with this one if you guys want some safer plays. I might do August 1st to the 15th. And honestly, man, it's still $250 for in the money plays. You can make a decent amount of money off this if you guys want to play the Ethereum movements. So we already talked about earnings mainly in the summary. Earnings that I'm very, very pumped about is going to be Coca-Cola, just because I have that in my long term, as well with Verizon. I just want to see how that sector is moving. I'm also pumped for Tesla and Alphabet. Both of these stocks can move the S&P 500, especially if we beat earnings and or lose the earnings as well. IBM as well, Chipotle. A lot of people loved Chipotle back in the day. It's not really talked about too much anymore. Also, T-Mobile, same thing with Verizon. If we can beat some expectations with Verizon and T-Mobile, we can see this sector go up even higher. American Airlines, of course, Intel. I have this in my long term. We're up I think only like 10%, but honestly, man, if we can see a big move or a big change with Intel can start breaking to the upside as well. So have these on your radar overall. We also see, Wall Street is a little bit more bullish overall. We're going to be talking about this a little bit later. This chart is going to be kind of important for something that we cover later on in the video, but people are a little bit more bullish overall with earnings, and honestly, the stakes are a little bit higher. Talked about this in yesterday's video, but Robinhood is moving up pretty strong, and honestly, man, just after their we have a lot of things moving Robinhood up. We have crypto, of course, crypto moving Robinhood up. We have those coins coming out, and we just have a lot. Honestly, this is a Gen Z platform. I personally use it too, but Robinhood is a good platform to use, and I have this one in my long term as well. I'm up like 122%, so I'm very, very pumped to see where it goes. And the market cap is still relatively low at 96.8 billion. Can we hit that $100 billion level soon? Probably, and that might make it a little bit more bullish once we break past that. Another one is Palantir, just because we were lacking a little bit and it had like a big sell-off. Nobody really knew why, and then now it's breaking up again. We have a lot of defense stocks going up right now. Speaking of defense stocks, we have BBAI making a breakup as well. We have it trading at $8.22 right now. This is another one. This is kind of like baby Palantir. They got some deals with the government overall, and it's breaking up a decent amount. I'm very, very pumped to see if we can finally break, that $9 level, maybe get to that 10. But honestly, man, this is one that I have on my radar to see if we break up even more and or have another sell-off. But we can have another sell-off. I'm watching at that 620 to 650 for another buy zone, and then I'm just going to hold it for a long time and wait until we get another breakout. But we did indeed have SPY break some all-time highs on Friday, and we're still holding up pretty strong. The U.S. stock market continued its hot streak this past week, with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ hitting their 5th straight record highs on Friday, July 18th. AI chip giants like NVIDIA, AMD, TSMC were big drivers, fueled by optimism around AI and strong corporate earnings overall. So let's see if we can get a continuation to the upside and or a tiny little pullback this week. China stocks are still holding up pretty strong. I said I'm going to have BABA on my radar because honestly, BABA moves strong to the upside and they also move strong to the downside. So you can play this stock both ways, especially if you're an option trader. I'm personally looking at it to the upside even more, looking at that 125 to that 130 level. But if we do start making a breakdown, get some bad news with China overall, you can also play China stocks to the downside. But let's talk more about earnings overall. So this week, all eyes are on earnings from Tesla and Alphabet as the stock market sits near record highs. Starting with Tesla, Tesla reports Wednesday, and analysts expect sales and revenue to drop by about 12% compared to last year's. EV demand has slowed, especially in Europe. Watch for updates on the robotaxi launch, recent executive changes, and any comments on government EV tax credits that could impact the business. We have been seeing a lot of people leaving Tesla recently, and that's been kind of driving it down, but we are still a little bit bullish on Tesla overall. But also reporting on Wednesday, we have Alphabet. Alphabet is expected to show solid results, about 15% growth and 11% revenue growth. A lot of people are bullish on Google right now. The key things to watch is how their AI tools are driving ad revenue, how fast their cloud business is growing, and whether the YouTube ads are bouncing back. Cost control is also a big theme. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ just hit fresh all-time highs. Investors are still riding the AI wave, especially with the big tech stocks leading the charge. So like I said before, man, that chart that I showed up before, this is kind of more talking about it a little bit more. But big names like JP Morgan and Bank of America posted solid numbers, but got only modest stock movement. Netflix, despite topping estimates and hiking guidance, still saw a 5% dip, showing that even beats are not immune if expectations are sky high. Analysts point out that valuation is key risk. Companies are priced for perfection right now. So far, around 83% of the S&P 500 firms beating earnings estimates, slightly above average, but the average beat is a bit under the 5-year norm, suggests the bar has been set low. That's fueling a tougher market. If you miss, even by a little, you're likely to get hit harder than usual. With stocks at record highs, investors are showing zero patience for any slip-ups. Expect more volatility as earnings roll in. Bottom line, it's a high-stakes season. Beating expectations isn't enough anymore. You've got to blow them away or face a sharp penalty. I'm kind of looking like it's kind of looking like Nvidia's earnings. Basically, Nvidia has to beat by a lot to be able to, grow a little bit off of their earnings. But man, we've been getting a lot of good data. Brought up the markets last week a decent amount. Despite worries, the US consumer hasn't cracked, at least not yet. Spending remains solid across the board. Retail sales, durable goods, and service sector activity are all holding firm. The so-called consumer rot hasn't shown up in numbers, yet markets remain on alert. One red flag is that certain expense categories like premium subscriptions and media are growing faster than overall revenue, signaling a possible shift in consumer behavior towards more discretionary purchases. But for now, Americans are still opening their wallets across sectors: groceries, gas, dining out, travel, you name it. The resilience is keeping stocks buoyant, even as some investors worry debt-wary consumers might buckle. Bottom line, no clear signs of consumer collapse yet, but vigilance is key. If those discretionary spending trends reverse, that's the first warning sign. For now, consumer supports the broader market overall. We also seen NeedM sticks with a buy on Nvidia and lifts the target to 200. Nvidia is going insane, but keep in mind, especially recent, Wall Street kind of gets bullish when the stocks are already going up, and it's kind of late to the show. Bullish when the market is bullish and bearish when the market is bearish, basically, to say we seen with the S&P 500 how they lift the numbers when we finally kind of came out of the bearish rally, and then when we got into the bearish rally, they started saying, oh, don't buy this, don't buy that, even talking bad on Nvidia when Nvidia wasn't even lifting that much. And now that Nvidia is looking more bullish, everybody's gonna be more bullish on Nvidia. But with that being said, that will bring Nvidia up even more, especially price targets, gonna give people FOMO, make people go in. So keep that in mind overall. AMD has been going insane recently, and a recent release of a new chip is a game changer in the AI acceleration industry. As we've seen, man, AMD is up like 10% this week, but AI stock hype is splitting the Magnificent Seven, and investors are watching closely. Nvidia, Meta, and Microsoft have surged 20% or more this year thanks to strong AI momentum, while Apple, Alphabet, and Tesla have lagged. Apple is still down 16%, Alphabet only down 2%, coming back. Tesla is still down 18%. Analysts say the difference comes from the AI execution. Some are leading, others are struggling to keep up. Just like Apple, we've seen Apple, man. Investors are mad that Apple isn't really, updated with their AI. They're supposed to come out with it with their iPhone 16, but didn't. And investors are not really happy yet. That's why I'm kind of pumped to see if Apple can finally upgrade their AI, maybe have a deal. We have a potential deal, but it's not really out yet. But if that deal gets signed, or, Apple just updates their AI demand overall, we can see Apple come up. But Apple's AI rollout is seen as slow. Alphabet faces antitrust issues and competitive pressure from ChatGPT style bots, and Tesla is weighed down by EV slowdown and Musk's political distractions. even as they pivot towards AI and robotics overall. Speaking a little bit more about Apple, man, Apple's first foldable phone is rumored to launch in 2026 and could cost over $2,000. We also had a little bit of a pushback to 2027, so we got to see. It's expected to replace the Pro Max line and target premium buyers. Instead of rushing to the market, Apple is focusing on refined design, no screen crease, a solid hinge, and a seamless user experience. They're likely using high-end OLED panels and partnering with major suppliers to ensure quality and scale. Around 6 to 8 million units could ship in the first year. While it won't be the first foldable phone on the market, Apple's brand power could push foldables into the mainstream. Bottom line, Apple's not trying to reinvent the wheel, but is trying to perfect it. The real question is whether customers will pay the premium for the foldable phone. So, I mean, we see foldable phone prices honestly going insane. They are like $2,000 to get it. With that all being said, I'm kind of pumped to see because, I mean, you can trade stocks better with a foldable phone. I personally was interested in getting the Galaxy Fold, but honestly, man, I think switching your phones overall is like switching your bank accounts. You know, you got too many things linked to it. So I kind of want to stick to the Apple overlay just because I've been using it for years. But if they come out with a foldable phone, I might be interested in getting one myself. But this could potentially bring Apple up even more because honestly, man, people just like me that want a foldable phone, but honestly don't want to switch like overall brands to say, you know, people might be getting this a little bit more, and maybe this might be a game changer for Apple overall, just because it's a new product on the line, but it's not a new product overall. If you guys understand what I mean. But like I said before, man, I think Apple, man, if it can come out with some AI hype, as we've seen before with a potential deal, we've seen it spike up a decent amount to that 215 level. I think we might be able to get some better movements with Apple overall. But let's get to some supports and resistance for certain stocks and some plays that I'm watching. So first one is going to be AMD overall, man. AMD just been moving up pretty strong. But with AMD and just like with NVIDIA, we are looking like we're kind of bouncing down a little bit lower. NVIDIA is looking a little bit better. We could probably retest 175, and if we could break past 175, we could look a little bit more bullish. But for AMD overall, man, I do wanted to see if we can test that 162.5, and if we could get past 162.5, I'm going to be looking at that 165 to that 170 level to the downside, 155, 151.5, 150, and that 147.5 to the downside for AMD, depending on where we go. Next is going to be SPY, man. SPY did make a breakup. We're still past all-time highs. And honestly, man, if we can hold this, hold up pretty strong, get to that 630 level, honestly, looking at that 631.5 to that 635, all the way up to that 640 level. Maybe we can hit 640 this week. Maybe we fall down a little bit. With that being said, to the downside, look at 627.5, 625, and that 620 level overall for SPY. Next one, of course, NVIDIA. Just like I said before, man, I want to see that 174.5 to that 175 level. After that, I want to look at 177.5, 180, and 181.5. To the downside, if we do start breaking down 171.5, 170, 169.5, and that 168. We've been holding up pretty strong this week. Honestly, holding up above that 170, getting below it just a little bit and not really going too far. Next one, of course, is Apple. Just watch the two ranges that I gave you guys before, that 211.5 to that 209 level. And if we can make a break upwards like we are right now, we could potentially be a little bit more bullish. And if we make a break below that 209, we're going to be a little bit more bearish. But honestly, if we do hold above this level right here, look at that 212.5, 213.5, and that 215 level. Tesla, man, Tesla has been looking pretty bullish overall, and they do got earnings. But keep in mind, if you guys are option traders, the premiums are probably going to be priced in already for the Wednesday earnings. So you might lose a little bit more money, and or if you start early, you might gain a little bit more money as the premiums go up. With that all being said, I'm going to be looking at that 335. We can hold above that 335. I'm going to be looking at 340, 345 to that 350. To the downside, 330, 325, and that 320 for Tesla overall. Have your time, take your patience. Next is going to be Google. Just like Tesla, the premiums are going to be pretty high, but I'm going to be looking at that 190 level. If you can finally break above that, looking at that 191.5, 195, and that 200 level. Honestly, man, we are still kind of lagging with Google, but Google has been going up a decent amount. And if we can get to some all-time highs, I think the all-time highs are pretty high, honestly. But if we can honestly test that 200 later on, maybe even this week, which would be insane. That's like it's like a $10 move for Google overall. But honestly, man, we might be able to get up to that 200 level, especially if we beat earnings by a lot. With that all being said, though, good luck trading today. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. I'll see you guys in the next video. Check out that course in the description below. Feel free to ask any questions if you guys have any. Comment down below any plays that you guys are making. Peace out.